I'm good. How are you?
That's good. Not too bad, thanks. Another bloody day.
That's good. Is why did you want to do Million Dollar Island?
I was doing it for my family. I don't know, my family, a bunch of good people, like my grandparents. Yeah, they've just sort of had a typical, not a very good life growing up. Bit of a hard life with the parents. And my grandparents took me in, so um, yeah, I just wanted to give back to them and sort of set up a life for myself as well. But I wanted to give them a experience to travel all around the world um, with a fair bit of money. So yeah.
So, like, what did you expect going into it? Did you think it was going to be like really hard survival wise, or like, did you think it was going to be like a holiday, like kind of like Love Island-ish? Because I've heard mixed things from people with that.
Um, See, I didn't. I thought it was going to be more survival. Yeah, it's hard to say. I was hoping it was going to be more like physical challenges. Because I don't know, I was training really hard for it. I lost like 24 kilos like a few months before the show aired. Because I was weighing at like 90 kilos. I dropped down to 67 kilo for the event, and was just training every single day. So I was hoping it was going to be physical, but I wanted to be ready for anything.
Yeah, so obviously there's 100 people on the island. So who did you bond with immediately that we didn't really get to see like on camera because of all the scrambling going on, like picking camps and stuff like that?
Um, so me and Tim were pretty close. Pretty much when we got out on the island and we were doing a bit of the shooting stuff, we sort of started talking to each other and outside when we're in the hotel because we got a little bit of time to sort of meet other cast a tiny little bit. So yeah, there was a little bit like, oh, this guy looks all right. And then when we got on the island, we were sort of talking together and we're like, oh, we seem like tough competitors. And yeah, there was a couple other people. I think David, he was another person. He sort of had a few survival, like a bit of survival experience. He said, like he'd been researching and stuff. So I'm like, maybe I can hang on to him. So if there's some survival competition or anything, I could sort of be around him. And then there was also Brock. I actually went to high school with him. People don't even know this, but me and him went to the same high school. We were in the same year grade. We didn't really know each other that well. Like we knew of each other, and we sort of became friends outside of school. So we actually knew each other. No one probably even knows that still. But yeah, I was like, "What the hell is this guy doing here on the island?" So I was like, and then we ended up in the same camp. But that's never mentioned anyway, which is pretty funny. So that's a little Easter egg for everyone.
That's weird. Yeah, I interviewed him. He's
Yeah.
great, but I can't believe I'd be like, what the hell? If somebody that I knew was like on the island, I'd be like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah, because I don't know, I saw him at the airport, but we weren't allowed to talk to anyone, so we're just like I messaged him and we're like, oh, we're not going to talk about it, and we'll just play our own games. We try like not to make it any advantage for any like a disadvantage for anyone else, so we're just playing our separate games because we thought maybe that'd be a bad thing if like this came out that it. But I left early anyway, so it didn't really have any effect on the game at all. But pretty funny at the end of the day.
Yeah, so obviously that day one was like a complete scramble with people jumping in the lake with their suitcases and you like guys like running around looking like your characters from like Lost. But why did you
Yeah.
find camp out of like all the four camps? Because I've heard that some people were kicked out of a bunch of camps and they were going to start their own
Yes.
camps. So why did you choose Vine? Because y'all had a lot of members.
Um, well, so the thing is they don't really show. So that running scene where we're running across the beach to go, we didn't have time to pick like where our camp would be. So they told us roughly when we got there. There's four camps. They're at different stations on the beach, and they would have a sign out the front of it. And pretty much like we sort of had a small little group of people that we knew. Like I knew two people that I was like, yeah, you're going to be in our camp. Like we're going to go together. So I won that beach race at the front. All 100 of us, they were like, ready, set, go. We ran. And me and Titus that you interviewed before, me and him were sprinting up the beach. We were way in front of everyone. And we're neck and neck to try and get to the food first. So that's an interesting part they left out. I was like, oh, at least I won something because I only just beat him to get all the food, and I'm smacking my chest, pumped up to get to this food first, and they didn't even air it. And I was like, oh, that's not fun. Like at least I won something, but didn't even get aired. But so as soon as I got there and grabbed some food, met up with Tim and David, and we pretty much were like, "Yep, here's our camp," and walked in there, and then everyone else started coming in that they sort of knew, and other random people like, "You want to be in our camp?" And then we're way over by the end of it, so we had to kick a few people out. Like, sorry, we've got too many people.
Yeah, so can you kind of did you have like a certain like game strategy like going into the game? Because obviously you didn't know like what to expect because it was like the first season, but did you kind of just want to like obviously you were nominated, but were you hoping to just like lay low? Were you wanting to like assert yourself and be aggressive and like do challenges or like what was your game strategy like going into it?
So I'm gonna go. I was going to everything in the true Aussie way, so I just wing it. So I'm like, whatever comes in my face, I'm gonna deal with the challenge. I didn't have any specific way. Like I knew Brock, he wrote down all stuff, like planned stuff out. So I was like, really, you've planned this out, like and everything, because he was like making videos of how he's creating fires and stuff. I'm like, I'm just gonna go in there and just be myself and see if that gets me fire. And obviously, it didn't.
So why were you actually like a target, you think, for Mike? Was it like because you were the first one to the box and he maybe saw you as like a threat, or like why you in particular? Because there was 100 people and he had to choose five and he picked me.
Yeah, yeah. So I was a bit surprised. I got told there was a rumor going around. They also cut that part out. I got told Kelly, Brock, and Doc, they all come and pulled me aside and told me there's a rumor going around that I could be in a challenge. So then I went, the producers asked me if I wanted to go talk to him, and I said, yeah, I'll go talk to him about it. So then I went and met Mike because this is the, like, other than the wheel spin, I'd never seen the bloke before, or even had a conversation. And so I went up and talked to him, and I said, like, hey, my name's Dan. Um, and he's like, hey, you going, mate? I'm like, there's a rumor going around that you're going to chuck me up for the challenge. And he asked me if I was a threat. And I said, well, I don't know if I'm a threat, but I told him, if you're going to put me in the challenge, make sure you put yourself in. And that's what he ended up doing. So it would have been good to have that context, because when you hear him putting my name up, he says in it, we'll see if he can walk the walk. He can talk the talk. We'll see if he can walk the walk. And that's why he said that, because we had that conversation that was ultimately cut. So that would have been a bit more context for everyone else to watch that. So yeah, I think it may be just the rumor. People wanted me to go over and talk to him to get myself into a bit of strife. But yeah, I've no idea to this day. So
Yeah. So going into like the challenge, like were you excited? Like what did you expect going into it? And like what was your whole mindset? Or were you like, I'm just done, or were you just like, I'm gonna kick everybody's ass and destroy them?
uh, um, so initially, like I was dead because we had hotel quarantine for a week in the hotels, and I got bugger all sleep. I was just under so much stress. I'm like thinking about everything that can go wrong. Usually I'm not a stressful person, but this one overloaded my brain. So like I was getting like 2 hours sleep throughout the hotel. And then I got on the island that day, and like we were carrying rocks and stuff to make our fire. So I was like super sore that night. I didn't get a good sleep. Then I was nominated for a challenge, so I was like fully worn out. Like I was struggling to walk because my legs were just shot. Because I was up climbing trees, like in the background there behind your head. There's trees up there that I was climbing to get leaves for the bottom of our camp.
Yeah.
Um, so I just wore my body out from exhaustion, and then I was put up for the challenge, and I still did pretty well. I was surprised I was going to go that well, but yeah, I was a bit nervous at the end of the day. I was like, oh, like I'm going to be the first one in, and I might be the first one to go because there's some tough competitors in there. But I thought I could get it done, and I was the second person out of the water, so me and Scotty were pretty much neck and neck. But yeah, that last buoy in the first part where we did the jump and we came down, there was a figure eight knot, and I really couldn't get that thing done. I couldn't undo it, so that set me back a little bit. But yeah, it didn't matter at the end of the day because Brett came in and just wiped the floor with us.
Yeah, so can you kind of talk about that block challenge a little bit more? Because I mean, when you rewatch it, you were only 3 seconds away from winning. Like you had the diamond with the thing, Ant was counting down, and you were 3 seconds away. So like, how frustrating was that? And like,
Oh,
I mean, you could have been the new Brett.
yes. Yeah, so I was definitely really close. They only showed it a couple times with me getting up, but I probably got it up 3 or 4 times, and a lot of other people got it up a few more times. But they obviously have to cut the episodes a bit shorter. I can't drag it out too long. But yeah, I was getting really frustrated. I did chuck a big F bomb in there. I was the only person to do that in that episode, but they cut that out as well. I don't know why, but I like screamed at the top of my lungs. Um, yeah, it was really frustrating. There was sand on the bottom of the blocks because when they'd fall off, they'd already been in the water. So there was water through it, and then your blocks would fall onto the sand, and then there was like little pieces of sand. So you see some of the boys trying to blow the bottom of it. Um, but yeah, it was frustrating to get it up, and it just keeps swinging, and like we weren't allowed to put our legs there to stop it from swinging. So it was just really just go slow and steady, which I didn't do. I was trying to get it up fast, try and get it done.
I mean, obviously you didn't know this before you left, but how pissed were you that there wasn't a survival challenge like afterwards?
Yeah, because I heard that the next day. I didn't know that was going to be a thing because like we didn't know how the show was going to work. Some people had some idea because they watched the Netherlands version, and then I heard, oh, the next people to leave will get a survival challenge. I'm like, I don't understand why we wouldn't get a survival challenge. I guess they were crunching the numbers of how many people they need to leave to get a certain amount each episode to finally get to the last competitors. So I don't know if that had a part to play, but yeah, it would have been nice to have done an extra challenge.
So, was there anything that you could have maybe said to Nick or Donald to get their bracelets, or maybe like somebody who might have been on the verge of quitting? Because I saw on your Instagram, I think you stayed in the hotel with Nick for a week, so I think you were pretty close, if I'm not mistaken.
Nick,
Or not Nick. What's his name? Is that his name? Top Camp,
the air fryer guy,
tall guy.
the
No,
air fryer
top
guy.
camp, tall guy.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't remember his name. I sort of on the spot, but yeah, I didn't see him that much after that. I haven't like talked to him since. But yeah, um, yeah, he was a competitor. There was no way he was going to leave. Donald, I already had my eggs in one basket because like I talked to some of the other boys and like they sort of brought up that like they didn't want to leave and it was the first day, so no one was keen to leave quite yet. Everyone had their eyes set on the money. And then Mitchell Wildman left the next day and I was like, you could have gave us the bracelets. He's left anyway. So yeah, there was sort of spewing with that a few people left the next day and we saw him in the hotels. We're like, bro, you could have gave me my wristband or like given me a wristband and they didn't end up doing it. So yeah, it could have saved my life
Yeah,
in the game.
I was just shocked he gave it to like Tim out of all people. Like it made no sense because Tim wasn't even in his camp.
Yeah. So I think he was going to give it to Scott, and then I don't know, something was going on with Scott, and I think he like changed his mind. Maybe he was missing home. I don't ultimately know what was going on, but I think it was originally going to go to Scott, and then yeah, he sort of gave up on that idea, and then gave that to Tim. So I probably could have got it off Donald because that's what Donald said. He said, "Oh, I saw that Nate was going to give you the wristband, so I'm going to give it to him." So he's like, if Nate didn't back out, you would have still been on the show. But if Nate wasn't going to give you a wristband, Donald would have gave me the wristband over Tim. So yeah, it just didn't work out in my favor.
Yeah, so do you have any like fun behind the scenes stories, maybe like from like after the show or like
Yeah,
maybe like during the hotel stay at Malawi? Because I heard a bunch of people got held up in there for like a week because of Chinese New Year.
yeah, right. Yeah, we had some like me and Mitchell Wildman. He's in the show, but you don't get to see that much of him. He's a great character. He's a great person. Um, Me, Scott, like all the people that left on that first episode, we all went out. We were having dinner, laying back, drinking beers at the pool. Kelly got really sick again from one of the nights, and she didn't know what was going on. And we ended up sleeping in the hotel room together. And then she ended up having to go to the doctors the next day. So I don't say that's a fun story. Um, but I guess another thing, I got called tick DICK because I ended up getting a tick on my genitalia.
Oh God.
That was the thing that was going around. It made its way to the island apparently. That I got a tick down there, and I had I had three of the doctors have a look at it, and the three doctors were saying, what's going on?" And I said, "I got a tick down there," and I had three doctors laughing their asses off trying to take this tick off. So that's my great story from Langkawi. Love the ticks.
So, what do you take away like from the show, like in general, even though you weren't on it for obviously as long as you would like?
Um, See, I had fun. I feel like I probably would have got a I probably might have turned into a villain because there's a lot of people on there that were backstabbing people and not being very kind people, and that would have really rubbed me the wrong way, and I probably would have ended up saying stuff because I would tell people to their face when I don't like something. So yeah, I might have caused a bit of drama, but what I take away from it is I had a great experience. I got out on a trip of a lifetime, and if I was going to do another show, I'd probably do something a little bit smaller, not 100 cast members. That'd be a little bit more fun.
Yeah, put you on Survivor instead.
Yeah, maybe Survivor. I might think about that one.
Yeah, Survivor, Amazing Race. I don't know what else there is. But oh, I forgot.
Big Brother out here. That's a good one. Big Brother, maybe. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This was a fun podcast. Hopefully, people like and subscribe. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Keep up to date with the $1 Million podcasts.